This is mental wellness in the modern world. Our mission is to connect biblical and psychological principles to better understand ourselves and the world around us. In a time when chaos is loud and pressure feels constant, peace isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. Mental wellness isn't just about surviving, it's about finding clarity, strength, and meaning in the everyday. This is where honest conversations happen, where healing meets truth, and where you're reminded that you're not alone. Hi, I'm Eleni Lobene with Benison Kingdom Network, and this is Mental Wellness in the Modern World. It is the beginning of summer in our household. Kids are out of school, and I thought it might be useful to talk about how to manage children during summertime and how to have a balanced day, because that's really the theme of my summer right now, trying to keep my kids in a state of balance. And I think it applies to all of us, whether we're kids or adults, we have kids or not. And this is born out of the fact that in Washington, D.C., camps are ridiculously expensive. Summer's 3 months long, and in D.C., a camp for one kid for 1 week is a minimum of $500. So I, I'm at this point now where my kids are a little older, and my youngest is 8, and my oldest is 13. And I realized that these kids have to learn how to entertain themselves. I spent years the COVID years I spent crying. Okay, so let's be very clear. I'm speaking to you from a place of having really struggled, and I still continue to struggle. But I feel like the kids now need to learn how to manage a day, how to create structure when there is no structure in our day. We as adults actually have to do this all the time, and we sometimes struggle with it as well. So how do we do this? How do we make sure that we have a balanced day? And then this actually, if we can instill this in our kids, it can really help them when they move on to less structured parts of their lives, like maybe college or maybe after high school, when they're off on their own. How do they make sure they're taking care of themselves, right? So in our household, we have sort of the structure in place where you don't necessarily have a schedule, but you have certain things you have to get done each day. Okay. So I recently bought everyone a devotional at their reading level. They're very short. They take like 7 minutes, maybe 10 tops. And honestly, my youngest she should probably be doing a longer one at this point because hers takes her like 2 minutes to read. But we start the day at breakfast time with this really quick reading. Everyone's individually doing it where they can just sort of level set at their developmental level, very minimal commitment, but just to start the day with a little bit of a spiritual component. Okay. And we've been doing this for a couple of weeks now, and it's nice. I don't know if it affects their day very much. They don't tell me, but we're doing it. And then our other major rule is you have to move your body every day. This is completely consistent with the Bible, right? The Bible says our bodies are temples. We're supposed to be taking care of them. So I have a rule that we have to move our bodies every day. My cousin's a doctor. She says, whatever you want to be able to do in 10 years, you need to do today. So while kids obviously don't have as much pressure to keep themselves moving, it's a habit that is really helpful to develop. And it's something that also increases our endorphins, so it makes us feel better able to handle then stress. So that's a major element. Then we also have to work every day. I think it's important that they build work ethic and independence. And so in our household, we have a chore chart. They have to do their chores before they can even think about doing things that they want to do, such as screen time. And they also need to do some reading, because that's like, summer work essentially in our house, right? But if for an adult, maybe it's something else that you're doing that you would consider work, right? It can look different for everyone, but at the end of the day, we're doing the work we need to do to just have a good life, right? Clean your room, do the dishes, do your laundry. We need certain hygiene behaviors essentially to help us just have a nice, organized, clean life. So I'm trying to instill that in my kids as part of our daily structure. And then, of course, rest and play. Social engagement is incredibly important every single day. Kids need to have some kind of social engagement. You're in a family, if you have multiple kids, neighbor kids is sort of built in. But sometimes we need to be intentional. Maybe if you have an only child, or maybe if you work at home by yourself all day long in front of a computer, you have to actually be intentional about seeking out social interaction. Okay, because that's a really important part to staying healthy. And of course, after play is rest. And rest, I love laying in my bed. That's my favorite place to rest. But people can rest on their couch. People can rest a lot of different ways. You can rest in social situations. But at the end of the day, you need to rejuvenate and take breaks. This is my structure that we are using. It's not really a structure. It's not really a schedule, but it is something that is setting expectations and sort of trying to help build habits in my kids in these major components that are really important in having sort of a well-rounded, robust well-being. I'm Eleni Lobene. This is Benison Kingdom Network. Thanks for tuning in to Mental Wellness in the Modern World. Let me know what works for you.